All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the second PZ podcast of the channel. This one, we have a really exciting, couple of really exciting topics today. One is ESL. First of all, give a shout out to ESL, one of our sponsors for this podcast. Make sure you guys check them out on YouTube, Twitch, and check out their Twitter on June 12th. At 2 p.m. PST, they are going to be broadcasting the finals. I'm going to be there. Our guests today are going to be there. I'm going to be there analyzing. We actually have Nova and Vincent talking about their strategies, talking about the meta, and talking about just, how they've been preparing for ESL in general. So, yeah, give a round of applause to Vince and Nova. I'm going to have you guys introduce yourself here. So maybe we can have Vince go first.
Hey guys. So yeah, I've been playing AUTOCHESS for a while, ever since they kind of introduced the mobile client, and it was still in beta. So I've been here for the beginning of ACM. But I played a little bit of DAC, but not so much anymore.
You've been playing in a lot of tournaments, though, right? So ever since the game has been out for about a year, maybe a year and a half now, right? How many tournaments would you say you've actually played in so far?
So there's a lot of weekly tournaments, a lot of monthly tournaments, a lot of seasonal tournaments as well. I think that there's definitely I wouldn't say successfully, but I definitely played in about 20 or so plus.
Cool. Yeah, you've been playing a while. So it makes sense that you're here. You made it to the ESL finals. So, congrats on that. And then Nova, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Nova. I've been playing ACM a little less than Vince. I actually finally remember when I first got onto the game. Vince was, if not first place, top 3 during season 1. To be clear, not with one account, but 2 accounts at the time. He decided he wanted to make a Smurf and then climb that one higher than his original account. I was still playing DAC when ACM first was starting out, so I came in about halfway through season 1, I think.
What made you want to jump over?
As much as I liked DAC, it had a lot of problems. Matchmaking was a huge problem, like the actual client. And when ACM split away from Valve and Steam, the updates weren't really happening, and it just wasn't functioning that well. Plus, I really didn't have a good computer, so the idea to be able to play on my phone was actually really appealing to me, and I've always played on my phone. So that was one of the big draws to come over.
Yeah, mobile gaming has been on the rise for a couple of years now, and it's glad to see people prioritizing the mobile platform over PC sometimes. So, yeah, congrats on making it to the finals for ESL, and good luck on your games. A couple questions I want to ask you guys today for this podcast is, I don't know, how do you guys feeling about the meta right now? Anyone can go first.
I'll let you take this one, since you're higher on the leaderboards.
Higher on the Wait, what rank are you right now, Nova?
I am actually not sure. I think I'm Rook 9. I think I'm Rook 9. I've been bouncing around between Rook 9 and Rook 8. Honestly, this meta, it's interesting. I don't have the fullest read on it yet. I felt really confident during Phase 3 of ESL with how the meta had shaped out. It included a lot of builds I feel really comfortable playing, and I've done before, but the sort of shuffling around of synergies and new units has really put the meta in flux. And even though there's some builds that are sticking out as sort of reliable, if not sadly a little brain dead, like 9 Warriors,
right,
there's still a lot up in the air for the most optimal build paths, and when you can be patient, and when some of these other builds that have sort of gotten forgotten, like Glacial Knights,
right,
are now able to spike at times that are really taking advantage of these people passively playing 9 Warriors.
Okay, well, I hear a lot of 9 Warriors. Are you spamming them, or are you trying to figure out new types of build to try to counter them for maybe the finals, because people are going to be using them, right? So
Yeah, no, I think we haven't had that many customers, but just on ladder, over the past week or so, they've really exploded, and so you've played in enough lobbies where 4 people are contesting them, or you high roll them or you low roll them, and once I got a handful of games under my belt with them, I definitely don't think it's that beneficial to keep drilling it into the ground. I think basically if you high roll them and you have a good start, then they're a very viable option, but it's not like Kira meta mid-season 5 where it just all hinged on one unit, and that build was, vastly superior.
Okay, yeah, so it's a little bit better, but I mean, still really frustrating to play in. And one thing I'd like to mention here is that, I mean, we're seeing a lot of this on ladder, and ladder, as we've known since the the merge of all the servers, they tend to have a different meta. So I mean, going back into ESL, you're only going to be playing against NA players like Vince over here. So maybe we might see a shift in the meta, or do you guys still think it's still going to be kind of the same?
What do you think, Vince?
So, the meta right now to me feels like you have to divide things by, does it beat 9 warriors or does it lose the 9 warriors, which is something that we can use as, it's like a measuring stick.
Okay.
But that measuring stick is a little bit too consistent for past meta, basically. There is some flexibility in what beats it, but I feel like that 9 warriors is consistently top 4ing for a reason, because it's so easy to get to it. And when people are playing a little bit looser on rank, they get to level 9, round 21, and you just roll it down, and they can just get to 10 pretty easily,
right.
Just by stabilizing. And it's I wouldn't say that it's too punishing on after spending all their gold at level 9 and just saving everything for them.
For the 9, right? Dude, what I remember about Warriors that made it really fun back then was when you're able to go budget warrior, you're able to go 4 beast warrior, you're able to go 2 beast warrior, you're even able to go 9 warriors and still win with it. But now it seems like everything is just kind of like very cookie cutter now. Like if you're not playing this specific build, and there's if the build, okay, first of all, if the build is too OP, if the build is too strong and it's not flexible, I feel like that is usually the the ingredients to make an unbalanced meta, right?
Well, I totally agree, and I think you bring up budget warriors is a really good point, because in the history of warriors, it's sort of a difficult thing to balance because there are so many warriors and because it's so such a linear build path, like you're saying. I think that we saw it really become a nuisance both with beast warriors and then right now. Whereas I think your mention of budget warriors, that's probably the healthiest warriors have ever been.
Yeah.
It was a viable strategy for them that came up almost like an underground strategy, and then people learned how to do it, and it felt like it took some skill. It was similar to Glacial Knights back in season 2 or whatever, and the real roll down on 16 and staying really under leveled, and that was cool. But this feels like you said it's too inflexible, and that when you have too much of a meta that's too inflexible, it becomes boring. And there's not enough that can really deal with it right now, with mages in a bit of a sketchy place.
Yeah, I mean, hey, boring or not, you guys are still gonna have to try to win. How have you guys been preparing for ESL? I mean, I know we kind of talked about the meta here, but like how have you guys been practicing? Have you guys just been grinding ladder? Have you guys been playing specific customs or playing against certain players, trying to figure out their strategies? Like, how have you guys really been preparing for this? It's a lot of money on the line, right? So
it's definitely a decent amount. I've been playing a bit of both. I think it's good to play on the ladder because brought up a really good point that now with the ladders all being merged, it's a big deal to play against some of these international players that are really skilled in playing in a way you might not be used to. And it's a bit of a bane as well as a boon because I'm going to be playing all NA players, and they might have more of a strategy, but they're playing the same ladder games. I don't think anyone is playing all that many customs right now. We've gotten a handful together, but a lot of us are busy or have other stuff going on. So I think right now, especially with the new meta, just a lot of ladder grinding has been the only way. I watched some Nations Cup games as well when I get the chance, because I feel like there's a lot of top tier play there that can give some insight into how they're viewing the meta at the time.
Cool. How about you, Vince?
So after qualifying for ESL, we knew that it would still be about a month or so out, and I knew that the new season was coming up, and there was gonna be new units, and that with new units typically comes with new changes or new metas. I mean, the items changed dramatically. We got um, switchable items, new comps. So honestly, after qualifying, I took a break. It was a way to kind of look at the game fresh, because at that time, if you're still playing afterwards, things would change by the time it was going to be the finals. So honestly, just recouping mentally and getting ready to play the game again with a new pair of eyes, and yet with some experience from the past, I think is a good way to prepare.
Right. I think that you bring up a pretty good point there, because I feel like, I mean, I play every day. I stream every day, and I do feel the burnout once in a while. So I feel like, with you mentioning like taking a break there, I think it's really good, especially with the new meta, new units coming in. You guys both work full time too, right? So man, I can't imagine where you guys find the time to actually grind for this tournament, man.
I'm very lucky. As a teacher, I actually have this 1 month off in between taking my own classes to finish my education. So I'm very lucky I have this time to prepare, because otherwise, no, I would have very, very little free time.
All right.
Yeah, I live vicariously through the streamers like yourself and Wills. So thank you guys for streaming.
Yeah, no problem, man. Hey, thank you for sharing that with us. And I mean, what would you say? I have a question. What would you say is your favorite comps right now?
Go ahead, Nova.
One for each of
it's
you guys.
Definitely your one tricking comp, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one tricking comp. It's kind of like. I mean, you guys mentioned Warriors, but like, what do you guys really enjoy playing? And like, what do you guys feel like? Oh man, when I'm playing this, I'm always thinking, and when I make certain plays, I see the impact of it, and so even though it doesn't win all the time, it just releases a bunch of dopamine when I play this build.
I'm certainly having a lot more fun with things like like 6 mages, 5 dragons, or slipping that into like 5 dragon div. It's not that reliable, and there's still a bug with Python that kind of messes with it a bit, but I still am enjoying those. And then I've been trying to really lab demon goblins, but there's some issues with when you power spike and what your carry is and what you do on 9. So I don't know. Some of my favorite comps are like just Feathered Sins, and that's pretty close to unplayable right now.
Oh, so, Feathered Sins is unplayable?
Wow. I would say it's pretty close to unplayable. Feathered itself is pretty good and can be really oppressive against these patient comps like Warriors with a Whisper with mana on it. But actually trying to rely on the Sins for that, I don't know that I've seen that in a lobby for since the new patch. Mm-hmm. I think that's not the real build path. It's so much more reliable to go Hunters if you're going Feathered. Right. That I just basically don't see people using Assassins with them at the moment.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Vince?
By far, the most fun item is the Blink Dagger.
Blink Dagger, yeah. So what are your combos?
It's definitely either Water Spirit or Grim Touch or Venom. So I really like Divinity. Not because it always tops 4, but just because of the flexibility of who you can put the Blink Dagger on. So it can be Water Spirit, it can be your God of War even if you want to throw, or just
if you want to throw.
Yeah, I throw in Sirens in there. It's all about, I don't know. It's about making ridiculous things work when they shouldn't.
Right.
And then still winning the round and getting everyone to question.
That's my honestly, that's my favorite part of the game. You guys watch the stream all the time, man. Like, that is really what gets me to really play auto chess, man. I really miss that about auto chess, even though I feel like the game is heading in the right direction with increasing the skill cap. But I gotta say, man, like, I do miss it. I do miss that you're able to win with those kind of comps. those I don't know. Back then when I played Warwood Mages, that won a couple times. I played Warwood Divinity, that won a couple times, and now you're just not able to play any of those things if you stray away. And that you can look at it from like two points of view, right? You can look at it as like, okay, the game is getting harder, or is it just like I don't know. What do you guys feel about that? Do you want it to be like a very like a cookie cutter game, or do you want it to be? Do you feel like the game can actually have a healthy meta environment with a bunch of diversification?
Go ahead, Vince.
I think it's missing the hyper reroll comps.
The hyper reroll comps. Oh, okay. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Do you remember back in the day with Glacial Knights, and you stay level 5 all the way until round 16?
Right.
And you roll down 50 gold, as much as you possibly can, to get a Hell Knight 3 or a Lightblade 3.
Right.
And then from then on, it took a lot of APM, it took a lot of overflowing onto the board.
Right.
And it was, if you didn't hit, you were a very sad boy. But if you did hit, then you could, essentially sit for the rest of the game. But it was one of the most satisfying moments when you actually hit it, and then you're like, oh, I still got. Or you hit both of your 3-star Hell Knights, and you just don't see that anymore.
No, I remember that very, very vividly in my head, because I remember you watching you stream and do that, and then you're able to pull it off, and then like I try to do it, rolling down on 5, like, wait, why can't I do it? Like, why am I missing it? Like, but then I find out that it's actually sometimes a gamble too, right? Because you can't just hit it all the time. I mean, sometimes you just get unlucky and like. But yeah, I definitely remember that comp.
Legitimately, and I totally agree with that that call, Vince. There's that creates your where's Razor Claw moments, and overflowing on the board is a mechanic in ACM that they did port over from DAC, and it really does add to the skill cap. Making those decisions when you're rolling down that much and you have a limited amount of time and bench space and board space, it can lead to some pretty exciting, intense moments. Monty in that last game in phase 3. He, between 15 and 17 or so, completely switched out his comp just based on a couple rolls, and then him rolling down and making those last-minute adjustments, and it got him the win and got him to advance. So I think those moments are much more exciting than people just slow-rolling warriors with some Eggersis and Hunter to back it up through 21. I mean, that's just too routine.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And with the new unit coming out, it's a carry unit. So I've always been around the concept of, like, I've always liked the concept of having carries at 2-star, and I feel like it's very healthy, like, for the game. And they're actually bringing out a new unit. I don't know if you guys saw. It's Bloodseeker from DAC. What's it, like Flame Shaman or something Shaman? But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Because I feel like the last 2 metas has been kind of unbalanced, because Venomancer was a 4-cost, and now there's even more 4-cost carries, aren't there? And there's less 2-cost carries. And then with Vince talking about the roll downs, I just feel like that was the last time we've seen the game actually kind of balance, and it's because of the low cost carries, not the the high level carries that they're looking for on I don't know, what's the earliest you can find a 4-cost, like round 7, round 8, right? And that's usually when the game gets kind of out of control, because that one person ends up either high rolling it or able to snowball with that one unit, right? Does that make sense?
I totally agree, and I've been creeping on these new units since I first saw spoilers. I think 2 are going to be added. It should be the Lava Shaman, which you're saying, which is Bloodseeker, and then Sacred Lancer, I believe, which is going to be Huskar, which I believe is going to be a Glacial Warrior 5-cost.
Right.
And then the other is going to be a Cave Shaman, so the same as Storm Shaman. It's going to let us have 4 Cave without Wizards back. It's going to let you have 2 Shaman.
You can even do 4 Shamans, actually, I think.
Yes, you can do 4 Shaman, which I think it randomly targets one piece and makes it a random other piece of cost 1 value less. So if you have a 4-cost unit that it targets, instead of penguining it, it will turn it into a random 3-cost, like a Herald or something. Which would be pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of things they're adding, man. Definitely gonna bring some exciting gameplay to the game. don't know. We don't know if it's gonna, mess up the meta or not yet. But just some speculation there. So you did mention Monty. So with the finals coming up for ESL here, are you guys scared of playing against anyone? Is there anyone out there where you feel like, oh man, he's a little bit better than me, and I'm just not at that level yet in the finals? Or you just don't want to play them, like you don't want to run, like you just don't want to be in a lobby with them.
So, for one, Monty is I mean he played in the $1 Million tournament and so did I, and I think that there's merit to why we got there, or the people that got really close. So I believe Devlis was very close on that one as well, and I think that these are, I wouldn't say prime gamers, but they're known to be winners, and I think that when it comes to prime time, that they do show up. So even if they don't perform on rank, or if they're not always on, I feel like they thrive in the moment.
Well said. Nova?
I would definitely corroborate that. I think Vince Nova or Vince Monty and Devlis have definitely shown just really, really good performance over and over. Vivu's new to the scene, but with very little time, he was able to execute really, really well. And then, I mean, the other people in the lobby are names we've seen in GLL finals and tournaments for months and months and months. So, and they're people I play with all the time, and we most of us know each other and we talk all the time. So it's a pretty almost familial finals for us. So I think that a lot of it is going to be up to chance, especially with where the meta is. I'm not feeling supremely confident, but at the same time, there isn't a single player that I'm looking at like, oh man, I hope I dodge them every game. I think everyone has a close to even chance, but like Vince is saying, I'd probably give the edge to those people who have played on a big stage or some similar venue to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a long process. It was like 4 or 5 weeks of the whole ESL. So I mean, the people that made it to the top, they had to be pretty consistent. And being consistent with there's been a lot of tournament GLL. There's been the big international one. There's been a bunch of tournaments. So one thing I wanted to add on top of that, do you guys feel like there's a skill cap to this game where if certain players stand out more than all the other players, where they can consistently win tournaments? Or do you feel like anyone could make it to the top, or if they get the right roles, or do you need a little bit of both in terms of luck and also skills, or good understanding of the game? Or I don't know, how do you guys feel about that?
Take it, Vince.
I think that for the state of the meta, the state of the game from when we last practiced, I do think that it's the people that have put the most time to it. So if there's been someone that's been playing since day one of the current patch, I think that they do have the edge. So Nova being one of them, Radical being another one. I think Devlis is up there as well. I'm not sure on the rest of the folks. I think Silent is up there too. But I'm definitely one of the lower playtime folks.
Right. So you're saying, like, if you're a new player to the game, as long as you're caught up to the new patch, let's say you haven't played season 1 to season 5. Let's say you're coming into season 6. You want to make it to the top. You want to be one of the best players. If you are willing to commit all your time to it, you think you can play amongst the best. That's what you're saying.
Oh, I mean, I totally believe that. The barrier, it's an interesting dichotomy, because the barrier to entry for a game like this, skill-wise, is really just a knowledge of everything going on. You need to know what all the synergies are, all the pieces, what works well together. That's before you even get into items, what they go on, what's optimal, when to put them on. Then you need to bring, the current meta and everything, previously brought into that. So there's just a lot of base knowledge you need to actually enter the game at a semi-competitive level. Okay. But once you get there, then it's, mechanics and doing it over and over and getting much more mechanical with it, and just and really being able to think about it on a second level. But past that, I mean, it's mostly just playtime. I don't know of anybody who's put in a ridiculous amount of time and hasn't been able to improve and play at a decently high level.
I mean, I guess we could look at the leaderboards and figure that out, right? in terms of like play time and
Yeah, it's rare that you find people. I mean, leaderboard's a little different because it really does reward a lot of just, grinding out games. But I think when you look at the people who tried to start playing tournaments a lot and showed up in a lot of weeklies and GLLs and stuff, the more they tried, the more you'd see them consistent, and they, got to that upper echelon of players, I would say.
Cool. All right. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna elaborate. So for most of season 1 and most of season 2, I was actually a really, really bad player. I don't think many people knew it, but even if I was rank 1 or rank 2 or top 10 player, I was actually incredibly bad at the game. What really, really taught me how to play was when me and a couple of other NA players and even some EU players went over to the Asia server to play and climb to Queen there. And there was always the issue with the LP gains in NA, because in season 1 there was actually only one Queen.
Right.
And we wanted to make sure that we got Queen the next season, or at least prove a point. And yeah, I think that once the server merged, I think that overall you're not feeling terrible that you're getting stomped by the rest of the world. There's that many good players, but you're at the same rate. You're getting a lot better at the same time versus like playing with people from I wouldn't say a bad region, but bad rank. You get some people that are more your level.
If I could just elaborate, piggyback on that for a second, because I very much agree, and I think the PZ, when we're talking about if a player can get to that point where they're like a top level player, I think the consistent thread you see between almost all top level players is they're not really playing for their rank. They're playing to get better at the game. Win or lose, experiment, lose MMR, like it doesn't matter. You're playing to try to get better, and then you're really trying to show up at the tournaments. And I think that speaks to what Vince has said about those players consistently showing up in those finals or in those tournaments over and over. It's because they're the ones that don't really care about their MMR. They might wind up, being good enough. They climb to Queen naturally anyway, but they're not the ones who are just like spamming one build because they know it's broken and they want to climb off that.
Right.
I think they're people who are really trying to learn the game.
I totally agree with that point. A lot of times when I'm looking at win rates or whatever on ladder, I mean, sometimes there could be a little bit of credibility there, but no, it definitely does not show the whole story behind it. And you could tell because a lot of ranked players, they don't even play in tournaments. So I mean, they could be good, it could be bad, but there's definitely more strategy to, especially in a game like this where you can actually just like counter the person that is a one trick or right. So there's definitely I mean, you could definitely figure out strategies to counter that person. So yeah, I can definitely understand that. Any strategies you want to share with the chat? I mean, we are already talking about how someone that's a new player can maybe compete in the game. Maybe any strategies you want to share to them, not necessarily to your your opponents, but yeah, any tips or for even new players or players have been playing for a while, or maybe even some ladder grinders out there.
Vince kind of spoiled it, I thought it was our secret about Water Spirit with Blink Dagger, but the cat's out of the bag.
No, because it's easily counterable. I said
how is it easily counterable?
Build. It's a for fun build. It can get countered by a Taboo Witcher, a one star Water Spirit that gets countered, or no Water Spirit, that's a good counter.
Wait, we're talking about Blink Dagger with Water Spirit. You talking about like in mages, or are you talking about Divinity?
Divinity or mage, either.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
it's really good in both. But Vince is right. People can play around in the higher level lobby you're in, the more people are going to play around it. But it's if you haven't played in a lobby yet and you're playing mage and you get open lane and you get a 2-star Water Spirit fairly early, it's basically like a Tortola Blast, but without having to hit a Tortola. It's extremely, extremely strong.
Yeah, but the same thing can be said with Fallen Witcher too, where just a 1-star Fallen Witcher with an armor, with the Blink Dagger is the physical equivalent.
Wait, really? I remember I threw a game with a Fallen Witcher 3 with Blink Dagger, and I blinked them in the bag.
It's round like pre round 10.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, I just never tried that because I was scared of him dying.
But that's also a power curve issue.
Hmm.
So you have to know when you have to take off blink daggers
Right.
because or when it's more beneficial for you to have it. You know, sometimes you're just gonna take it off and it sits on your bag.
That definitely becomes a late game mini game, back and forth. If I was in a game, I think 2 or 3 days ago, and I'd wound up getting like Fallen 3 and had this, fully set up comp. I don't know, Demon Goblins or something, but I was against an Insectoid player, and each round we were going back and forth with where I was blinking my Fallen, and
Oh.
finally on the very last round, he like circled it with Thorn Predator and an Abbey Crawler, and it
Oh
blinked
wow.
right next to them, hit the Thorn Predator, stunned itself, and the game was over. So I think it definitely, like Vince is saying, if I had thrown that blink on something else and let the Fallen naturally get mana, it could have ended totally differently. So I think Blink Dagger adds a lot, and I'm really glad they brought it back, and I'm glad how they brought it back. It made some items that were
Hmm.
becoming not very useful, much more useful again, and that's a very good thing for the game.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I love Blink Dagger. When they took it away, it just didn't make sense. I think it's, I like it a lot better now is because it's like you can actually combine into it instead of it just being like a solo item. Because now you can choose to go into it, not just like get a random Blink Dagger and have it do nothing, right? So like, with the whole new item changes, I feel it's definitely brought the skill cap of the game up. I say with all the items that you get, like the 3 items you get in the round 1 to round 3, you can't say you have bad items anymore. I don't think. Like you can literally make anything into any comp with it. I mean, whatever items you don't get. I mean, you could see like maybe later if you don't get like an MKB or MKC or something against Feather, then maybe you can complain there. But I feel like sometimes you just gotta play off of whatever items you get in the beginning, and you just can't really make the excuse for those bad items anymore.
Yeah. What was the worst shot before? It was the stout shield, the
Re-
dagger, and
Res
then
cloak,
and
res
the
cloak.
resistance cloak. That was fantastic. And when you get three of them, no,
Yeah. Like no
that was
The
the
stick.
the
No
only
stick
best.
was always like the main thing everyone could always complain about. No stick.
Yeah.
the
But
only
now you
item
don't
that
need
still
No
stick.
needs
mana.
retuning. I think that Res Cloak really still needs to be retuned. I think it doesn't make sense that the only actual pure magic res item doesn't even build into the only magic res item that people use, which would be BKB
Mm-hmm.
or Python Wand. So
Oh, oh, so oh, okay.
I think that's a feels bad item right now that they need to rework, and
Mm,
maybe that's it. Maybe not Dracula Mask, but I think if they fix Res Cloak, items will actually be in a really good spot. I think the items they added now to amplify ranged carries were a great addition and added a lot of diversity to the game where spirits were becoming too dominant because every carry was melee. So I think they did a really good job with that, but I think they just need a little tweak to Res Cloak and really can add anything to it, and it still probably wouldn't be too good. So
right.
that would be my 2 cents on items.
Cool. Any ad Vince or
Yeah. So for strategies, right?
yeah,
I mean, I mentioned. I mean, everyone's trying to figure out the meta, and you're definitely gonna try out new metas or new comps, and what you're gonna do is you're probably gonna limit test them, meaning that you're gonna play them when you're high rolling and play them when you're low rolling,
mm-hmm.
and see how you can flex into it, and so that you can get comfortable with it. It's okay to bottom four or so in some games, just so you know what not to do. Some games,
Right.
it's like I've used this analogy before, but if it's a puzzle, if it's a maze, and you're stuck in it, and you just put your right hand on the side, and you just find the limits of one comp, and then once you one trick that, then you go to a different thing, and that's how you figure it out. Um, this, I mean, it's been changing a little bit more frequently than we've had in the past, but it was really worthwhile to find how comfortable you were with a comp,
Right.
and and more or less invest time. And some people don't like to do that, and that's okay. But it does make a difference for competitive play.
Right.
And if you're not comfortable with a build, you don't have to play it. It was something that in ESL finals, or the preliminaries, the finals, there was one of the biggest new builds was insectoids,
Right.
and people were winning with it. They were doing really well, and
Mm-hmm.
I was not, because I didn't know any of the power curves, and I got a seventh. And I think that was game seven. And I was just like, you know what, I'm good, no more. And I stopped playing it, and that was one of my only 2 sevens, because that I think the other one might have been an insectoid game too. I wouldn't be surprised in that one either. No, that one was a pure four gods game. But anyways, it's just for competitive play. Play to what you're more comfortable with.
How many builds would you say like someone should master?
Well, what is a comp that they should play?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, not just like what comps they should play, but like how many comps they should master. Because I think what we agreed on so far, you can't really play competitive if you only master one comp. But you're also saying you don't have to play a certain meta comps even if it's strong. You just gotta learn a couple other ones, right? There are definitely comps where you can avoid. So I don't know what's the magic number here. How many comps do you feel like you should know?
It's three.
Three. There you guys have it, folks. 3 comps. Matt, how about you, Nova? How many comps have you mastered?
In this meta, like none. But in ESL Phase 3, my magic number was 4.
Okay.
I felt like, and I really agree with what Vince is saying. I think that you learn more from your failures than you learn from the successes. If I just high roll a 9 warrior game and 100 streak it, I learn nothing from that game. But if I'm, as Vince is saying, limit testing something like insectoids, the more that I play those comps and get familiar with them, even if I decide I don't think it's that viable, that consistent, I don't like the play style, at least I have more information about it to know how to play against it and to know, give myself the option of playing it. So the reason the magic number was 4 in the last meta is just those comps had the reliability, the consistency, the build path, the end game that I felt, gave me a really good competitive chance against most things that were strong at the time. In this meta, we just really don't have very much time before these finals, and it's only going to be 5 games. So, I'll be happy if I go in with 3 concrete builds that I feel really comfortable with, that I feel like I've quote unquote mastered. Right. But at the moment, I need to play a lot the next couple days to do that.
Yeah. All right. What do you guys expect out of ESL and the future of ESL here? Whether you win or not, I mean, what do you guys expect for yourselves? What do you guys expect for the new players that are going to be competing, and what do you expect from the whole tournament esport of auto chess here?
I expect money.
You okay? Yeah, for yourself. Okay, you're gonna get first place. Okay.
Yeah, I'm so happy that there's a good, healthy prize pool.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's reaching the finals, you're guaranteed money already, and you're playing for more. And I think that was one thing that, going into a day where you're feeling like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna eat some McDonald's today. I'm gonna order, an extra side of large fries or some sweet and sour sauce that costs 50 cents in my neighborhood. Yeah, I'm happy that there's these big sponsorship tournaments for auto chess, because that's something that I think has been lacking for not just NA, but we've seen it for LATAM as well, and I think South SEA.
Right.
I hope that they throw some love to EU.
Yeah, this might be the biggest one right now. I can't think of a bigger one than $30,000 USD. Right. Last one was the $1 million tournament. That was last year. So I mean, I don't think there's any bigger tournament right now than the ESL.
No, and it's definitely nice that we got a company as big as ESL to back it. They're known throughout like the whole esports world and have been doing tournaments for a really long time, and so it's definitely beneficial to have them involved. And I'm certainly hopeful. It seems like they're expecting to do a season 6, and if they keep auto chess in the mix, then I would predict you'll see a lot of familiar names next season. They also just implemented the championship series within the game, so that has some built-in sort of weekly and monthly and then quarterly tournaments that theoretically are going to add up to an in-person or a big LAN thing actually run by Drodo in the future, which would be really cool. I don't know if ESL will have a part in that, but right. The more things that are going on, certainly, then the more players that are going to be active and the more chances we have to keep competing.
Yeah, I mean, Drodo's been doing a pretty good job in terms of promoting the tournaments. Like every time I log into the app, like I'll see, ESL pop up right there. So I'm really glad they're doing that. But yeah, we've seen a bunch of other tournaments pop up too, whether it's grassroots or from veteran tournament organizers like ESL. So yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in today. Thank you, our guests, Nova and Vince. Any last words?
Good luck, Nova. You know, you may not need it because you're a filthy high roller, but good luck. You know.
Oh man, look, all I want to say is, I think I have the good faith and fortune of Joseph and Silduri at my back, and I think that's all one really needs to have the Hyrule gods shine favorably upon you. So Vince,
On
this is
your
all
nine
going to be.
warriors. Your nine
This is all,
warriors.
it's all going to be retribution for what almost a year ago in that GLL right before they made monthlies, where you beat me and I got second, and that was your Glacial Knights time of glory. But your time is done, Vince. This is the beginning of a new era.
The 9 warrior era. Yeah, I'm expecting 5 games of 9 warriors from you. You're gonna tech against it, which is
I hope,
also 9 warriors.
God, I hope you do.
There you
Yes,
have it,
yes.
folks. If you guys want to see Vince and Nova spam 9 warriors in the finals, make sure you guys tune in to July 12th, 2 p.m. PST. I will also be analyzing. I'll let you guys know how well they are playing their 9 warriors. Yeah, so make sure you guys tune in. Thank you, ESL, for sponsoring our podcast here. And thank you, everyone, for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Tune in out.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, PZ. Good luck,
Cool.
Vince.